I said, okay. So I'm going to read Wilkie Collins.
Yes, that thing that you've never read before. What's in the book?
It's a fantastic cover here. It's called The Dead Secret. Wilkie Collins, Dickens' deputy, out in full force here. So it's in the 1800s. It's split into several sub-books, I think 5 or 6. You read the first book, and then there's a 15-year jump before the rest of the novel. So basically what happens is, this lady is dying. And she calls in her servant and says, look, you've always been a friend to me as well as a servant. Not instead of, but as well as. And what I would like is for you to sign this document that says you were an accomplice in something that we did together. And then give the note to my husband. I can't tell him, but if I write it down, you can tell him. And it's like, well, she's an accomplice in whatever you've done. Would she tell him? How can you make her tell him? So she says, I'll make you sign it that you're an accomplice and swear an oath. And if you break your oath, I will come back and haunt you from the grave. Which I guess in the 1800s was a genuine threat. So she's very scared about this. And for some reason, rather than just making her swear to tell the husband, she makes her swear 3 things. Thing number 1, you will not take this note out of the house. I swear, that's fine. Thing number 2, you will not destroy the note. Okay. Thing number 3, you will give the note to... and she dies.
Oh.
So now the lady's like, right, I can't take it away or destroy it, or I'll get haunted from beyond the grave. But technically, I didn't actually swear to give it to your husband. So I'll just hide it in the house.
Right, and do we know what this note says yet?
We find out a lot later.
Okay, near the end.
Yeah. It's not a long book per se, but it is about 360, 70 pages. So what happens is, the note's hidden. This woman is there to care for this little 5-year-old girl who lives with them. And there's the husband and some servants and things. So they go to the father, and he asks... Basically, she's so scared about this note that she runs away, and they never see her again. But she's hidden it in the house. Now, this is not a 2 up, 2 down. They're living in a massive mansion in the countryside with hundreds of rooms and different wings of the house and all this kind of stuff. So she hides it somewhere. Now, what happens is, we jump 15 years, and the father dies. And the daughter's all grown up, and she's marrying a gentleman. And they use their inheritance from the father to buy the old family home.
They have to buy it.
Somehow they've got to buy it.
Okay.
Okay.
The banker somehow got a hold of it.
Yeah, that's... Okay. I don't know why, but somehow they've got to buy it. But there is an old uncle, and the old uncle doesn't like them. And the reason he doesn't like them is that the mother was a play actress, which was a lower class thing back then. So he won't speak to anyone in the family.
Still kind of is, unfortunately.
I like the theatre.
Oh yeah, I do too. This is why I added unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's a very important profession.
So he won't speak to his niece because her mother was an actress. So the father dies, and what happens is this couple are getting married, and they have a little daughter. But something weird happens. The way they discuss going back to the old house, it's kind of like a bit of trepidation, a bit of fear. They've not been there in so long. So many wings of the house are like locked up and decaying. It's one of these old, countryside mansions no one's been in for years, and they don't even know how to get into the rooms. There's bundles and bundles of keys everywhere and all this kind of stuff, And this girl, by the way, her name is Sarah Leeson. She hasn't been seen in years. So she now returns. But the way she does it is she's kind of disguised. So she sees this couple, and they're talking about going to the house and everything. And she's like, cool. Can I babysit your kid? So they hire her to babysit the kid. She creeps over to the mother and whispers in her ear, do not go into the myrtle room. And then tries to pass it off as a dream. And the mum's like, so you're fired immediately from babysitting my kid.
Alright. Is this the beginning of The Haunting of Hill House?
So they discuss it with the father and what happened. And they're like, cool, we've got to investigate this myrtle room, of course. And he's like, but are you not scared? And there's a really sexist line where the mum is like, well, I don't know if you've ever met a woman, but I'm a woman. So she's told me do not go into the myrtle room. The first thing I shall do is go into the myrtle room.
Yeah.
But of course, no one knows what room that is, and none of the servants know which room that is. And, you know, the names have been scratched off the rooms, and the keys have been lost, and, you know, they're all damp and mouldy, and floorboards falling in, and all this kind of stuff. So the house is in bad state. The girl then goes to stay with her German uncle, who then helped Max, who has a music box given to his brother by Mozart, and he just carries it around all the time.
Lovely.
And they go to the old house and they talk to the servants. They try to get some information about the Myrtle Room. So we now discover, slight spoiler here, they don't know, obviously, that the woman looking after the baby was this woman, Sarah Leeson. We find that out. And she goes with her mum. They pretend, like, hey, servants, can we just look around your mansion? And they're like, cool, come in and look around. We'll figure out what's going on here. We're suspicious of you, but we'll get some information and report it back. They do not manage originally to find the note. They get kicked out. They're very suspicious of Max because he's a foreigner and they're racist old English people. Lots of shenanigans kind of ensue, and they, you know, she pretends to faint at one point in the house and all this kind of weird stuff. I don't normally do spoilers, but I kind of want to this time. Essentially what happens is, what the note says is that the mother was never the mother in the first place. The servant, who's been chasing on them all, is the mother of the child.
Wow, okay.
So, because she had the child out of wedlock with a boy who treated her badly and then died, they didn't want to spoil her reputation, so she stayed on as the servant and looked after the child that was her own and pretended it wasn't hers. I mean, nowadays this book wouldn't happen, because you'd just be like, cool, you had a kid. The end, you know?
I do kind of like those types of stories. There's one recently I was watching. It's animated, Apothecary Diaries, and they kind of get into that. It's like one of the concubines' child is switched with the emperor's child, and I do actually really like those types of stories in a way.
It's kind of nice, you know, and I love the melodrama of everything, because, honestly, I've written down in one of my notes, which I reviewed earlier, imagine being Sarah's friend. Because all she does the whole book is like, I've had such a hard life, don't worry, it'll be at an end soon, like she's waiting to die. It's the most depressing character, and she keeps talking to her uncle like, the misery will be at an end, me who has had such a hard trodden life. And it's like, okay, give over already. Because I can't see that she has had that hard a life. Okay, her boyfriend mistreated her, but he died when he was like 22 or 25 or something, so that kind of been going on for a very long time. 15 years have passed. You know, so I don't know what she's been doing in the interval. Nothing, from the sounds of it. Then she says to her uncle, like, I cannot go back with you. I must go away and roam around the countryside again, because it's not safe for me to go back with you. They'll be after us. I think she's taken it a bit too seriously. And of course, eventually the husband and wife find the note and they realize everything. And they do the right thing. They say, if you're not really the daughter, we should never have inherited the money that allowed us to buy the house.
Oh.
And because of their Victorian morals, they can't accept the house. So they contact the old uncle, and they say the money should be yours, and therefore the house should be yours.
But they paid for the house at the beginning, right?
With money that they got from inheriting.
Okay.
So they lose everything, and now they're just poor and homeless, basically. But the old uncle, he has this thing where he's super rich, and he doesn't want to give his money. He has no friends. He doesn't like anyone. He lives like in the middle of nowhere by himself with one servant who he hates. And he doesn't want to help them. And he says, you better not come back and try to get my money and try to get my house. You've just told me that it's mine. Which they had no need to tell him, by the way.
No, yeah.
Once they discovered the note. They did the right thing, and he's like, damn you, you're not getting the money and everything. And then once they're like, cool, damn you, we don't want your money. We don't want your house. We want to live, honestly. Then he's like, you don't need the money or want it. You shall have the money.
Okay, so it's the Willy Wonka thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's how it might go.
So he eventually lets them have the money, but it's kind of funny that the whole book he's a miser and he's very Scroogey and everything.
I like that type of character as well. It's like, I am not easy to please, I don't like most people, but you won me over. Just you and this other person. That's it.
Yeah, and they do win him over, and it's kind of nice. I feel like you have to spoil the ending of this book for it to kind of be nice or to make any sense. If I just said, like, yeah, they chased them around this house and then we don't know what the note says, it's like, well, who cares,
Yeah.
But the twist is obviously that she's the mum. And of course, because it's a Victorian book, she discovers that it's her mum, and then that night the mum dies, So they get a few hours together.
At least they get some time together. It could have been like truly Victorian. It's like, oh yeah, she died yesterday, and then I figured it out.
Yeah, that would be even worse. A lot of moralizing going on. You know, we can't accept our ill-gotten gains, even though we're good people and we've done nothing wrong. The only thing I don't like about the husband is he keeps telling his wife off for being nice to the servants. It's like, you can't shake hands with them, you can't apologize to them, they're beneath us.
But that's how an upper-class person would say that's the way to act.
Yeah. It's mean, though.
You never talk to the help.
And the funny thing is, the two servants, it's really just this man and woman, and the woman really respects the man, even though he doesn't really know anything, and she's always deferring to him on decisions, but he's not actually good at making decisions, and he's kind of useless. And then every time, he'll just go against whatever she says. So she's like, I guess we should do this. And he's like, no, in my superior wisdom, we should definitely do the opposite of whatever you said. But 30 seconds ago, he was clueless as to what to do. So there's some funny scenes there. And Uncle Max is funny with his Mozart music box. But overall, it's just like a really over-the-top, sad melodrama about... I like these books because they wouldn't exist today. It's just like, yeah, you had a kid and that's fine. But for some reason, she had to like be exiled for 15 years and not see her own daughter and meet her the day of her death and have this note hidden in a drawer in the Myrtle room. Now, I neglected one important thing. Her husband is blind. So there's also... It's actually not that important, but there's some scenes of her guiding him around and she's his eyes. And she kind of guides him around. So when they go into the Myrtle room, it's this old, dusty, dark room. You know, he's kind of... There's a bit of fear there. And she's reacting scared, but he doesn't know why. And they're trying to, like, navigate around the room together. And that's, like, a really cool, tense scene. But mostly, apart from the old uncle who's a bit curmudgeon-y, it's a nice book about nice people.
That sounds pretty good. So,
Then that's it.
what would you say? Where's that one go?
I was not prepared for this. I now have to play sound effects, which I was not ready for, but I think that we can do it.